Okay, this is just a short, quick segment on how to set the headspace and on a Savage target action. You have to, the tools that are required, you have to have a go gauge and also a no-go gauge. You can get these pieces of equipment out of Midway USA, Sinclair, and other distributors. We've got an improvised barrel vise. You'll have to snug down the barrel. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. This way worked pretty well for me. You're going to have a barrel nut wrench. This one is a Wheeler Engineering piece that came out of Midway USA. You can do this without an action wrench. An action wrench is highly recommended, but the other tools that will be needed will be a hammer and a good rubberized pair of pliers or wire cutters. Works really well. And we've already screwed the action pretty close, within a turn or so, within where this will end up having a headspace set. We're first going to start off with the go gauge. I'm going to throw that into the chamber. And they're a little bit tricky to load on a target action, because you're going in. This one is just a left port only. I'm going to close the bolt down onto that. I'm going to check it to see if it's actually made contact, and that's where the head of the bolt face actually grabs onto the lip of the gauge, simulating the lip on a cartridge case. And this one actually has. We're pretty snug here on the go gauge, and we'll go a little bit snug to where the action is a little bit hard to open. And the reason we'll do that is when we tighten this barrel nut down, it's actually going to pull the threads in the opposite direction. You can see the recoil lug with the notch on the receiver. And now we're going to come in here with the action wrench. And tighten this. We can now see that is easier to turn. We'll verify the headspace on this by putting in the no-go gauge. This one is 4 thousandths longer in length. The bolt should not be able to close. In the case of this one, there's some resistance, but the bolt will not close. So you ask why. Why would I just want to use this setup with the hammer and also the pliers? And the answer to that will be right now. I will attempt to torque and tighten this down by holding two things at once with the barrel vise. Put in the go gauge and check it. It's almost perfect, and you just feel a little bit of resistance on closing the bolt with the go gauge. It won't close on the no-go gauge. And there you have it. The headspace has been set. and the barrel's been tightened down on a Savage, a project that you can do at home. And one of the problems that you may have with a setup like this is you may put very small marks in the edge of this action. You can polish those out, and on this one I actually have one really small mark. But with some really fine grit sandpaper or a file and a little bit of polishing compound, you can rub that mark out. This will save you some money from having to go to a gunsmith and have him install it. A lot of gunsmiths where I live will charge $300 to do this project. The cost of the wrench is about $50. The barrel vise I was able to make myself for a total cost of $5. So if you can live with a couple of little marks, you've got this thing set. You can also put a torque wrench in here and torque this. I'm a mechanic. I pretty much know what the torque limits are on what I'm doing. I probably torque this to about 80 foot-pounds with what I just did, which is the spec on this barrel. Good luck. Hope you have as well as results that I've had.